Oi, class. Welcome to today's lesson. Today's lesson can be quite challenging. It's the full meal deal of algebra. It includes all our tips and tricks. So it will be a bit of a challenge for some of you today. Before we begin, we must review how to multiply fractions by whole numbers. So that's an important skill, especially up in the higher grades. You use it all the time. So let us get going. Here we go. Here we have 2 over 5 times 10. So one way to think about that, oops, there we go. One way to think about this is if you have 2 over 5 timesing by 10, you have to remember that it's 10 over 1, so it equals 2 times 10 over 5 times 1, which equals 20 times 5. Now that's not the best way to think about it, but it is one of the ways to think about it. Another way to think about it is if you actually take this and rearrange that. So instead of 2 times 10, you went 2 times 10, but the 5 and the 1 you switched up. Because 5 times 1 and 1 times 5 don't make a difference. So what you have is you have 2 times 10 over 5. And you can have the times 1 part, but you don't really need that. So what's 10 over 5? Well, 10 over 5 equals 2. So really you have 2 times 2, which equals 4. So 4 is your answer. Now it's really helpful to understand that really the focus is this 10 and 5 part. You're dividing 10 by 5 to simplify it to a whole number. And that's something that we're going to look at doing here today. So instead of going 2 times 10, we're instead going to go 10 divided by 5. And so we would cancel out, and we would get 2 as our answer. So we have 2 times 2, which equals 4. Okay. Now a lot of these questions are all going to be cooked up. So here we have 3 times 35, all divided by 7, or you go 3 over 7 times 1 times 35 up top, your choice. Okay, but really, when it comes down to it, it's 7 divided by 35 divided by 7, which equals 5. And 3 times 5 equals 15. Try the next one, 27 and 9. So divide by 9, and you're going to get 3. And so our answer is negative 12, because it's 4 times 3. 5 and 15, do they cancel out? Yep. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So now we have 2x times 3, which equals 6x. So all we're really doing is canceling out our denominator because we're doing a division by the number that we're multiplying by. So 6 and 18. 18 cancels with the 6. It becomes 3. And so we have x times 3, which is 3x. Okay, always put your coefficient in front. 30 and 5 cancels to 6. So when you multiply, you're going to get negative 6x. So negative x times 6. Keep going if you can. 36 and 9 gives you 4. So then when you multiply, you're going to get negative 28x. Go ahead and cancel. It's a tougher one, but you're right, it's 3, negative 36 times x. Okay, so now we have 2 things that have to cancel. So before we do the addition, we got to cancel first because we need to have a common denominator. So 15 and, but notice here our denominators are different. But what we notice is that this 15 is the lowest common multiple, or LCM. And that's the specific number that we're going to look for. It is also a common denominator between the fractions. Denominator. And you can see that over here when you have 6, 4, and 6, and the common lowest LCM, or the common denominator, is 12. So that's something we'll be focusing on a little bit. Going back now, let's cancel. So this divides. 15 divided by 5 equals 3, and 15 divided by 15 equals 1. So then we multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. 4 times 1 equals 4. So we still have the addition between them, but now that we have a common denominator, it's 1, but it's still a common denominator. 9 plus 4 is 13. Okay, so now we stepped it up a little bit. Here, number 10, again, 4 and 6 is your denominator. The common denominator, or the LCM, is 12. So you're going to multiply both those fractions by 12. And what happens is this cancels to 3. This cancels to 2. And so when you multiply, you're going to get 9x minus 10x. Now, 9x minus 10x, you can do that, equals negative 1x. But you couldn't have done that before because you didn't have a common denominator. But now you did. Your denominator is 1. We would just never write that. Okay. So what we want to do now is we want to focus. Again, we're looking at common multiples with 8 and 24 and 3 and 24. So these guys cancel to 3. 24 divided by 8. And what's 3 times 7x? 21x. You'll notice now lining these up. It is a little bit easier when you do line them up vertically. 24 divided by 3 is not 8. It's not 6, it is 8. There we go. Okay, and so then we have the subtraction sign, which stays the same. Again, trying to line the pieces up to keep it similar. 8 times 5, 40. Now that's as low as we can go. That's all we can do because that is only a constant. It's not minus 40x. So that is our final answer. Until we have more stuff, we can't do anything else. Now, what about question 12? Question 12 is a little bit different. There's a couple different ways of looking at it. One way is that we have to go 15 divided by 5, and that equals 3. And so what we can do is multiply in to get rid of the brackets. Now, when we multiply into the front term, which is 9x, and then we multiply into the last term, which is negative 21. So it's important to know that when you cancel and you have brackets, you got to multiply into both parts. You'll see that this is the fraction line right here is a grouping symbol. Okay, it is a grouping symbol. It indicates, indicates brackets are around the top. So that's what it indicates. So question 12 actually has needless brackets. They don't need the brackets around the top because of the grouping symbol. Okay, it's a bit of a trick there. Now you'll notice 13 and 12 are exactly the same, except what they've done is they've broken that top fraction, 3x minus 7, into its two parts. So here's your 3x, there's your minus 7. But you'll notice 15 is multiplied by both parts. Here it's multiplied, reduced or canceled. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And we get 9x minus 21. That's another way of doing some of the harder work. However, I try to avoid that. I find students aren't too happy about that. Okay, so now we're at the part where you get to choose the number. So for question 14, we have 5 and we have 3. So what is the LCM with 5 and 3? Well, you're right, it's 15. So you're going to multiply both of them by 15. It must be the same number. Must. Otherwise, you're not canceling out properly. So then 15 divided by 5 is 3, and 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now when you multiply, 3x times 3, and 4 times 5 is 20. And you can't add those together because they're not like terms. Okay, next question. Now we have denominators 3, 4, and 6. What is the LCM? Well, 3, 4, and 6. Some would say 24. And you know what? That is a common multiple, and it would totally work. You will not get the wrong answer. But it's not the lowest. So it's a little bit, you're going to just be dealing with larger numbers. It'd still get your correct answer, though. But 12 is the lowest common multiple. So multiply everything by 12. And so you get canceling going on, and that gives you 8x. Cancels to 3, gives you 21. Your equal sign should always line up. And here it cancels to 2. But remember, we talked about this, the grouping symbols. If there's one mistake you're going to make, this is it in your homework. If you're getting incorrect answers, you must look here to make sure that you put brackets around it, and then you multiply it incorrectly. So if you're not getting correct answers in your homework, that's where you got to be careful. I guarantee you made the mistake there. I see it every year. Now, for us, we can now solve this. All right, we have 8x and 6x. So let's move our x's over. 2x plus 21 equals negative 10. 2x equals negative 31. So x equals negative 31 over 2. There's your final answer. Your homework, you will get whole numbers. Okay, but sometimes on our quizzes, in our notes and our quizzes, we don't have it cooked up enough to give you a whole number, but in your homework, you will get whole numbers. And here we have our last question. We have 7 and 3. So what's the LCM of 7 and 3? The LCM equals 21. But stop. What about this one? What's the denominator underneath the 2? What is it? You got to remember it's a 1. And the reason why I bring that up is because you have to multiply all terms by the 21, including the ones that don't have fractions. Okay? So now when you multiply 7 and 21 divided by 7 gives you 3, and you get 12x. 21 divided by 1 doesn't cancel at all. And so you get negative 42. So if you did not get the right answer, look for your whole numbers. You have to multiply them as well. Yeah, okay. Equal sign should line up. And here we have 21 divided by 3, which is 7. But what'd you notice? Yeah, what do we do with this 5? So what I like to do is I like to then multiply that. So I get 35 bracket x minus 2. And so I'm going to get 12x minus 42 equals 35x minus 70. Now I can solve that, but I'm going to leave it for now because we're going to do some more solving down below. Okay, so that's the important part there. Just learning how to cancel our fractions. We don't want to get common denominators and worrying about that. We want to get rid of them. It's called rationalizing the denominator. Okay, we want to rationalize it. Then it's going to be exactly like it has been the last 3 days. But we've got to get rid of the denominator first. So today's skill, getting rid of the denominator. Now let's practice and solve these guys all the way. Okay, so here we are continuing. Now we're just going to do the same skills we just practiced with these equations. So you look at the denominator. What is your denominator? You have 5s and 3s. What's the LCM? Well, the LCM equals then 15. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply the whole thing by 15 because you want to keep it equal. So you're going to multiply the first fraction by 15 as well as the second fraction by 15, all the terms. So what that looks like is x over 5 times 15 equals negative 2 over 3 times 15. Now, if you want to know, yes, you could take this and move it to the front. I just like it moving it to the back so it doesn't look like a subtraction of 15 minus 2. That's the only reason why I keep it at the back. Same thing here. If you really want, you could move to the front, but I want to look different than the other side, so I like to keep them the same. So now I go and cancel. 15 divided by 5 is 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. And I get 3 times x, which is 3x. And negative 2 times 5, which is negative 10. So then divide by 3, and we get negative 10 divided by 3. Final answer, it's a fraction. Actually, all your homework won't be fractions, but you might get a few in here. Next question, 6, 3, and 12. What's the LCM? Well, the LCM, 6, 3, and 12, actually is 12. Okay, so the LCM equals 12. Here your LCM was 15. So we're going to multiply by 12 into all the terms. There you go. So that's x over 6 times 12 plus 2/3 times 12 equals negative 5 over 12 times 12. Now, I'm going to show you in the next one that often we just start right here. But the reason why I started at the first step is to show you why it works. It's because you're multiplying all the pieces inside by the same number. That's keeping it equal. Okay, so that's kind of showing you why this works. But from now on, that's probably going to be my starting point for all the other questions. So cancel out, that cancels to 2, cancels to 4, cancels to 1. 2x plus 8 equals negative 5. 2x, move the plus 8 to the other side by subtracting. 8 minus 5 is 13. So x equals negative 13 over 2. Okay. Good. Next question. 7, 14, 7, and 2. So because of the 2, it's got to be an even number. So let's go with 14. So multiplying everything by 14. Now instead of showing you this step, I'll show you my cheat step. So what I do is I just multiply each one by 15. And I can write it at the front or I can write it at the back, kind of where space is. Okay. And so 15 should be 14. I was not paying attention there. Still on the last question. Sorry, question number 1. And multiplies by 14 as well. So cancels to 2, and I get 10x. Cancels to 1, so I get negative 3 times 1, which is negative 3. 14 and 7 cancels to 2, I get 4x. Cancels to 7, 7 times 1 is 7. Move the 4x over. Move the 3 over by adding. And so x equals 10 over 6. But that's not lowest terms. Divide by 2, 5 over 3. Okay. So these ones are all weird questions because you got fractions. But again, in your homework, you won't get fractions. Good. 3 and 5, which you multiply by, right? The LCM, which equals 15. So I'm multiplying this one by 15. Again, don't forget your whole numbers. This term also gets multiplied by 15. Multiply by 15. Multiply by 15. Cancels to 5. We get 10x. Plus, 15 times 5 is big. 75 equals 15 times x. Minus, those cancels to 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, so I move 10x to the other side by subtracting. And move 3 to the other side. And we get 78. Okay, and then x equals 78 over 5 lowest terms. Okay, so you've done all the solving. Now I'm just going to show you and focus on the cancellation, because once you get to this step, it's all the same as the last couple of days. Nothing's changed. So 3 and 5 multiply by 15. So I got to multiply the front one by 15, and I got to multiply the back one by 15. Now, what's the grouping symbol you see? Remember we talked about this grouping symbol? That line means you have to do this. Okay, that is a group. So this will cancel to 5, then it's going to multiply into both parts. And so you're going to get 10x plus 35. 15 divided by 5 is 3. It multiplies into both parts. and you're going to get 9x minus 3. Now then you can finish solving. Okay, so what you would just do would be solve like previous lessons. Okay, good. Let's focus on getting out of the denominator. Sorry, canceling the denominators. Denominator is 3, denominator is 4. What are you going to multiply by? You're right, 15, 15. And you'll notice there's that number up front. So that's why this question is here. This cancels to a 3. So we want to multiply by that 3 to get 9 times x minus 1. Now, most of you probably even do that in the same step, and that's fine. No problem with that. So we can get 9x minus 9. Here, 15 and 3 cancels to 5. 5 times 2 is 10. And again, you would probably multiply it in. I just want to show you what you're getting so you're not confused. Okay. Question 7, full meal deal now. So we're going to solve it and then we're going to check it. So the hardest question is number 1, you have your grouping symbols. You have a negative sign, which is going to mess you up. And you have a whole number, which is going to mess you up. And you got this number in front of the numbers in brackets. So this is the full meal deal. You can't get any harder than this. Here we go. Let's attack. 4, 3, 2. What's the LCM? The LCM would be 24 would work, but it's too high. 12 is the lowest. So we multiply everything by 12. So multiply this one by 12, multiply this one by 12, and don't forget your negative sign. What else do you need around this? You're right, you need brackets. Okay, so we've got to watch out for that negative sign. Multiply this one by 12, and also the 3s multiplied by 12. All right, so 12 and 4 cancels to 3, so we get 9 times x plus 2. And then 12 and 3 cancels to 4, so it's negative 4 x plus 1. That was tricky. Okay, so if you were going to multiply that in right away, you should have, when you canceled, you should have wrote down negative 4, because your sign has to stay with that number. Very, very tricky. 6, and so we get 6x plus 36. Multiply in 9x plus 18 minus 4x plus, not plus, minus 4 equals 6x plus 36. Collect like terms, 5x plus 14 equals 6x plus 36. So now both sides are simplified. Now I can start moving things across left and right. Okay, this is a good one here. I'll move the 5x over because it's smaller, not a rule, just because I like to. Move the 36 over, x equals, oof, that's big, 15 minus 36, negative 22. Okay. Now, if you solved x for the other side, you would have got negative x equals positive 22. And so what you would have to do in your last step, divide by negative 1. And so you would still, even though x on the left, would get the same answer if you followed all your steps properly. So now we want to do is check it. This is going to be big and nasty. Let's have some fun. Okay, so we start by writing the original. For our check, 3x plus 2 all over 4 minus x plus 1 over 3. Okay, equals x over 2 plus 3. So we're going to have to substitute in here, here, and here. Great wall of check. Let's go. So this becomes 3 times negative 22 plus 2, all divided by 4, minus negative 22 plus 1 over 3, equals negative 22 over 2 plus 3, equals negative 11 plus 3, negative 8. That one wasn't too bad. Here, a little bit of bad math on the left side, so 3 times negative 20 over 4 minus negative 21 over 3. So we get negative 60 over 4 plus 7. Okay, so I fixed my signs there, the two subtraction signs. 60 divided by 4, I think that's 15, but I want to double check. 60 divided by 4, good. So negative 15 plus 7, and we get negative 8. So we get negative 8, left side equals right side, check. What does this mean? This means x equals negative 22 is correct. All right, so that's the result of the check and what it means. Only thing we learned today is how to give your fractions. Number 7, full meal deal. Can't ask harder than that. It's a doozy. Lots of areas that you got to watch for mistakes. So areas you got to watch, multiply your whole number. You have to make sure that you cancel and watch out for your negative sign. And when you cancel, you got to multiply by numbers already there. And the last part, of course, is brackets. You got to make sure that you have brackets around the top because they're not going to be written in your homework. Okay, that's all, folks. It's a long one. Have fun, enjoy.